Today is a great day because it's time for another One Piece chapter exploration. So today we are going to be covering chapter 1181 titled God and Devil, which just gets me absolutely hyped. We left off with Loki staring down at Emu. So I'm thinking we're getting that mythological clash between Nidhogg and the devil. so, just opening up here, my kind of thoughts before the chapter are that I'm hoping, like I said, that we do stick with Emu and Loki here. Hopefully, not too many cutaways. I'm hoping the main focus of the chapter is going to be on them and their battle. So, because I think there's a lot, obviously, for Loki's character in specific when it comes to Emu because of what happened with his father, with Harold. So this is his opportunity for him, it would be revenge, but I'm hoping for his character because it's not like we know Emu is not going to like lose here in Elbaf, or at least I wouldn't imagine so. This is more so closure potentially for his character to know exactly what happened to Harold and what caused him or who caused him to basically go insane and end up having to, pass away. So I think it's a very good opportunity for Loki's character and to build conviction for him potentially to leave Elbaf. Now, I don't foresee that as a straw hat, but potentially as part of the, straw hats grand, maybe even the Grand Fleet. I don't know. Loki is a very interesting character because he just has so many potential paths to travel down. And I know there's a lot of different kind of thoughts around, Straw Hat, Grand Fleet, potentially even Blackbeard with his connection to rocks and, the way Loki, idolized and looked up to rocks as a child. So there is just so much opportunity for Loki, but I think it all starts with this battle between him and Emu. So hopefully we're going to stick with him. I don't, at least from the setup from last chapter, it seems like we're mainly going to be focusing on Loki. So Luffy is probably still refueling, he needs to refuel after all the Gear 5 usage. So I don't imagine he's going to be in this chapter too much, but we may get some cut around to the other areas of Elbaf, maybe even back to West Village where Emu, began his carnage to see, maybe we'll see how Zoro's doing, Gerd and Stanson and all of them. But that's going to be it for me. And now we're going to get into the chapter. So like I said, it's titled God and Devil, and our cover page here is Carrot singing and walking over pan sharks lined up in the sea. It's very cute. What I will point out that I really like is that Carrot's jacket, that she wears has Queen on the sleeve, and she's obviously got her crown because she is the leader of the mink tribe on Zoe now. So, very cool for Carrot to see her there. But let's get into the chapter. Okay, and we're starting right away. This is great. This is kind of what I was just talking about. This is with a flashback to Harold after he began being controlled by his depths covenant through Emu. This is when obviously Harold had regained a bit of his control during the fight. And he's like, this makes me the worst king in Elbaf's history. Like, so you must kill me, Loki, and take the throne. Obviously, we know how that happened or what happened. And Loki ultimately did not ascend to the throne because that's just not what he wanted to do. And okay, this is great. We're getting some dialogue between the two here. And this is something that I was very that I am very excited for because Emu holds such a vast amount of information. He basically holds like all of the most important information of One Piece as a series. The more time that we have him on screen that he's talking, the better. Now, obviously, I love being able to see him in combat and fighting because he is exceptionally powerful. His powers so far have been very cool, but what I want to hear from him is dialogue, which maybe some people would find boring. But the more he opens his mouth, the more opportunities we have to get little nuggets and pieces from the past, Void Century lore, ancient kingdom stuff. Just talk, Emu, please. He died at age 144, so this is Loki here. But yep, naturally giants live to 300, so he's basically saying like, hey, he still had a lot to live. He was only like halfway through his life. That'd be like right now I think the average age life expectancy, at least in the United States, I think is like 74 or somewhere around there. So, that'd be like dying when you're 37, 37 or something. So I guess yeah, he has a good point. There was still a lot of life for Harold to live. Okay, yep. And he immediately is putting the pieces together. Good, So he's like, I take it you're the one who manipulated and killed my father. So I like that Loki here recognizes that while yes, technically he was the one to have to kill Harold, it was only a consequence of what Emu had done or whoever it was. So he doesn't recognize that he killed his father. He believes that whoever manipulated him is the one who killed him, which is the correct way to think about that. Emu, the one who suffered the greatest setback was Moo. Okay, bro. Like that's so I mean, that's true. I was going to say that's so self important, so self aggrandizing, but it's like, of course it is. It's Emu. He was Moo. He's the king of the entire world. Of course, he believes that his plight was the biggest, and he did suffer some sort of drawback, obviously, from someone with the covenant being killed because we saw him kind of like deep breathing and seemed to have damaged him. Okay, we've got Loki charging up Ragnar here with some Conqueror's hockey. Oh, and we're seeing rumbles in the sky above him. And he says, tell me more of the sky. So he's building up the lightning strike all the way up from in the clouds. Okay, Loki's just thinking back on, Harold and talking about his reputation means nothing to him once he's dead. All that matters to him is Elbaf's future, which we know because Harold was truly a great king and only was striving for peace for his people and the best life he could provide for them. So, extremely sad the way that he had to go. And Loki, what the hell did you do to my old man? As we see the giant lightning strike coming from the clouds down into the sun realm on Elbaf. And this is very reminiscent of when Loki was first unchained and he struck the Adam tree and he struck it with Ragnar the first time and he called down the lightning strike that, lit up some fires up in the sun realm as well. So this is actually a move that he does where he calls it down from the heavens, which is so awesome. And if you think about the size, because we see it in relation to Elbaf, so the size of this lightning bolt is absolutely absurd. It is humongous. And we see Ragnar, and we have Ratatasker's face on the hammer, which I absolutely love because he just looks jacked and ready to go. Like he's like just smiling. And this move is called Ragna Izuchi. And Loki's coming down over top of Emu. And Emu, okay, the one end of his staff, or no, just his left arm, he has those dark flames accumulating in that like devil kind of face, shadowy face coming out. Oh, that panel is sick. Okay, so the hammer's coming down with the lightning, and Emu with his the black flame devil thing, he shoots it out of his left hand to block. So that's what he meets Loki's attack with. All right, sorry to give a cut right here in the middle. Unfortunately, I got up early, but my son decided to wake up much earlier than he usually does. So, you know, dad life does not stop for any video. So, had to put that on pause, but I am back. So, I'm just going to pick up right where I left off here. And this is when Loki is bringing down the Ragna Izuchi lightning hammer strike down on top of Emu. Emu is actually releasing what looks to be a much larger version of what he shot at Haruden and what he shot out of the end of his. I'm going to call it a glaive. What he shot out the end of his glaive at the ice block that Gunko's body was in. But this is like a much larger one coming out of his left hand. And this is crazy because we know that Loki charged this attack also with Conqueror's Hockey, but Emu, at least everything we're seeing in the paneling from what he's shooting out, doesn't have Conqueror's Hockey, but we know obviously Emu can use Conqueror's Hockey, but it's giving the, no touching effect of two Conqueror's Hockey attacks clashing against each other. That's why we see the gap between his Omen blast and Loki's hammer, between that and Ragnar. So I'm curious if all of these black flames, the Omen have like hockey imbued into them. I mean, there's so much interesting stuff when it comes to Emu's abilities because it's almost like the flames are part of the devil's power, but it's like he can like fuse it with hockey, or it's like a different form of hockey. Because I know in the like unofficial chapter, it was translated as like Maki, which is like demonic aura instead of omen. So if it's like demonic aura, it could be like a different form of hockey, maybe. I don't know. It's so interesting though, but we see the giant explosion of the omen flames and the giant lightning bolt crashing down and just the seismic wave going out in every direction. And we see Conqueror's Hockey lightning bolts as well. Obviously, like I said, I don't know. We saw Loki charging them up, but we didn't see Emu charging them up, but we know he has it. So sometimes hockey can be a bit confusing, especially when we don't know like how exactly all of Emu's abilities function at the moment. But let's continue. Okay, the blast is kind of sending people flying. That looks like okay, we have Lilith and Bonnie. That looks like Sanji, but he's like he looks to be unconscious. Like they're trying to hold him from flying away. Dang, man, it's not that surprising, but that means at least assumedly that means Emu's Conqueror's Hockey Omen infused kick, which sounds crazy. That means that literally knocked Sanji unconscious from that one attack, which, that's so crazy. That's nuts. But let's keep going here. Yeah, Emu unfazed by Ragna Izuchi. He seemed to have completely countered the attack. Even Loki is like, "Are you kidding me? He blocked that?" Like, yeah, he did. Great question. What are those black flames? What powers do you have? Please explain everything to us, Emu. And he's holding his hand out in the. I don't know if it's the reason the hand sign is it's supposed to be like a six is like a 6 6, like devil. That's my assumption. But he makes the symbol, the black flames begin to bubble up, and then he says omen, and it looks like his arm is ballooning. And he says, Omen is my military might. Okay. Is that specifically tied to your devil's fruit? Or is that tied to you specifically? Like even without the devil's fruit. But he looks like he's getting bigger. So we see his arm ballooning, and then he's like kind of getting, yeah, you can turn giant. Yeah. Oh my, seriously? You know what? Actually, no, that's not that surprising, because if we're assuming that Emu is the figure in the mural, like in the third world, that thing is absolutely gargantuan. Like that thing is even bigger than Loki, because we see in the mural, we see what looks to be like Loki or the ancient giant. And that is even small compared to that giant demonic creature, which we assume is Emu, but maybe it's not. But if it is, it makes sense that he can get bigger. It's hard to tell though in this panel though. He seems to be of normal giant size, or maybe like slightly bigger. He doesn't seem to be the same size as Loki. And he says, a power that lurks within all things. Because he's saying, Omen is my military might. It's a power that lurks within all things. Okay. So this may lend to the theory of it being like a demonic form of hockey, potentially. He's saying it is something that lurks within all things. And we've seen, there's just tons of stuff. Like one example that pops up into my head is Zorro's King of Hell. How he has those like green flames coming off of his blades. Like that has not been explained yet. He saw the Reaper after fighting King. Like he almost had gone to the nether realm, or like the afterlife, and came back. And then he had those, like, I don't know, the green flames, because is it just specifically tied around his swordsmanship, or is that maybe him pulling from this power that lurks within all things as well, on top of normal hockey? But then he's billowing up more omen on the end of his glaive, and him and Loki are clashing head to head this time, counter each other. Emu seems to flip up above over top of Loki. Loki's like, oh crap. And Emu is now pointing down, and he has the end of his glaive now has, looks like there's like a large guard on it now, and then there's still a little thing of black fire. Okay, let's keep going. Blade of Judgment Nemesis? What is that? What is that? Oh no. Oh no. Okay, first of all, he just pierces straight down through Loki in his like chest, collarbone, shoulder area. Okay, at least it's not like the heart. Okay. There's a lot. There's a lot to say here. Okay, I can already see it. I can see it. It's the the Mihawk upscale. Mihawk upscale. Oh boy. Okay, few things to say here that just come to mind. First of all, this move, actually, to bring up Mihawk here, this move looks very reminiscent of like what he hit the attack he did during Marineford when he was like trying to hunt Luffy down, like where he literally comes in from the top and spears the ice, but Luffy dodges it. This looks so similar to that move. Second, the blade the blade appears the blade is black, okay? And it says Blade of Judgment, Nemesis. So, first thing first, could this be a legitimate black blade? Yes. The only reason that I, at least for me, hold some sort of contention is the fact that everything we've seen, because this is the opposite end of his glaive, because we see, well, it's actually really tough because we don't see the other end for most of this fight so far. But the other end is what has the kind of glaive sickle type of blade on it. So this is coming out of the end that is the, yeah, okay. So if we go to the previous page, I'm looking here. Yes, okay. So the glaive side doesn't change of his weapon. So that blade stays there. And everything else he's doing with the Omen ability is coming out of the black flame at the other end of the staff portion. And everything we've seen that comes out of that other end is just naturally black because of the Omen ability. So this blade is coming out of that same end as the black flame. So is this, and this is just a question, I don't know. Is this blade actually a black blade and he's like summoning it out of the Omen flames? Or is this blade created from the Omen flames and like constructed into a blade? So then, of course, it would be black because it's constructed of the Omen ability. If that I hope that makes sense. So is he like summoning this blade? Because it's still part of the same weapon that has an actual bladed glaive at the other end. So I'm just curious because of course I can like I said, there's definitely some ties to Mihawk here, and this may lend to the whole fan theory that I'm actually not opposed to of him potentially being related to Emu. I think that would be very interesting for his character. It could also explain how him and Shanks actually originally met each other, and maybe where their duels originated was actually the Holy Land because that's where they're both from. So there's a lot of potential here. Obviously, the eyes, the ringed eyes. I mean, there is definitely some connections here, and the blade nemesis itself looks similar-esque to Yoru, not of course like a 1-to-1, and he's doing the same move here on Loki. So I'm not going to jump to any conclusions here, but there's Oda is potentially setting up some ties here for Mihawk, and I'm all for it. Now, of course, like I said, the power scaling implications of this are interesting because you have Emu here who has a blade. Let's say for this argument's sake, it's not from his Omen power, but it is actually him summoning a black blade that he himself possesses. He himself turned black, and this is something he's always had. This is where the title of World's Strongest Swordsman, like people are going to be like, this, Mihawk upscale. But I don't think there's any single person on this planet, at least I hope not, maybe like the ultimate Mihawk fanboys. I don't think anyone is going to argue that Mihawk is going to be stronger than Emu. So if this is truly a black blade, then this this illegitimatize, I can't even say it. It makes Mihawk's title illegitimate. Now, you could definitely say that, well, Emu resides in the Holy Land. Nobody even knows he exists. So, of course, the title of World's Strongest Swordsman is only reserved for the people of, the lower realm, which I actually think that makes complete logical sense here. But this, if we are including everybody in the series and this is a Black Blade, or Mihawk is definitely not the world's strongest swordsman. If that is truly a Black Blade. But enough of that. That was like a whole tangent there, but I can see it. I like the connections are there. I'm just really curious of what this blade is. If it is actually, a Black Blade, or is it just created from Omen? Let me know down below what you guys think about it. Also, maybe potential ties to Mihawk. But let's continue here. Loki is down bad, obviously reeling from that attack. It is the nature of man to crave strength. However, when power so lusted after is too easily gained, there's corruption. Okay, we're seeing Dory and Brogy after they were Domi reversied, choosing servitude out of self interest, covenants. So we see Harold out of self interest. Yeah, okay. Out of self interest. The covenants, he went into making the covenant with Emu. Obviously, it was for a good purpose, but it was out of self interest. And the envy that seeks to achieve one's goal, the power of omen, corruption, covenants, omen. So that's like seemingly he is explaining like his move set basically. So corruption is how he does Domi Reversi. The covenants, it's like a deal with the devil for your own self-serving interest to gain power. And then the omen, which is the envy that seeks to achieve one's goal. These form the Trinity, and he's like loading up, spinning a devil omen bomb, around at the end of his spear. Looks like Loki is starting to charge up again. Another attack with Ragnar. And Emu just launches this omen bomb. Loki is shocked. Apparently, the speed is, because he's going for like a slow charge up attack. So Emu he struck before Loki could even fully charge up. And then boom, explosion. And we see Conqueror's Hockey lightning bolts coming off of this explosion. So it seems to me that the black flames are actually connected and combined with Emu's Conqueror's Hockey slash demonic hockey. I don't really know. We don't know for sure. But that would mean earlier when they clashed with his omen attack out of his hand with the Ragna Izuchi, that is the Conqueror's Hockey clashing, not meeting each other, blocking it out. And what he says is, yep, these form the trinity of what we call domination. So obviously, this is like Emu's whole shtick. He's like basically the antithesis of what Emu is, or what Joy Boy, what Nika is, the sun god, freedom, liberation. Shall I give thee? And Loki he's holding back, but he's like literally charred the explosion. Shall I give thee the power of God to step beyond all others? And he's coming down. So he's all the way back. Looks like he's out of commission. And then he brings it back down right on top of Emu here and says, I didn't ask. That's right, Loki. That's right. Loki's he's taking some serious punishment. He's taking some serious punishment. He took the Blade of Judgment from Nemesis, and then now he just got exploded by that big omen explosion. And we see the dust settling. Loki is out of breath here, obviously. So your power is God's domination? Said, I think you mean a contract with the devil. And he's like wheezing, but that's so true. That's so true. That's a bar right there. God, devil, and we see Emu's like feet and his tail. What is the difference? Ooh, that's crazy. What is the difference? And he just looks totally serious, the shading over his eyes. Loki's like, I don't give a crap. No one lords it over me. That's right. That's right. Okay, and we can clearly now see the ring around Emu's back, like the Omen Black Flame ring. And how many eyeballs are on here? I've never actually counted these. 1, 2, 3, 16. 16. Wait a second. Okay. 16. 16 has some serious significance when it comes to the celestial dragons. Because we know that, for example, like Luffy rang the bell in Marineford 16 times. And then we know, obviously, Doflamingo's attack of the 16 holy bullets. So there's obviously there's a serious connection here to the number 16 and everything to do with the celestial dragons and even Emu now specifically, because we see the eyeballs on there. Interesting. Domination is the only true bliss in the world. What? Isn't that right? Yo, wait, is that Joy Boy? Is that Joy Boy? We're seeing like a silhouetted emu, in their little whatever the heck they look like silhouette form. And then we see Joy Boy here. Looks very similar-esque to Luffy, but we see what looks like the top of a straw hat. Got some like shaggy bit of hair, obviously big smile. Loki's charging up Ragnar again, another Ragnar Izuchi, I'm assuming. Oh, Emu is freaking out. Isn't that right, Joy Boy? And there's Conqueror's hockey flying out. So he said domination is the only true bliss in the world. Isn't that right, Joy Boy? What? Okay. So obviously, like I talked about it like with my cousin, and I think within the community, it's been like a running thing, obviously, that Joy Boy and Emu obviously have a connection from the past. But it seems to me that they had a friendship, at least from this very, very minuscule thing, a friendship. Maybe even potentially were part of the same crew, and maybe Emu is the one that defected. I don't know. This is so interesting. This is what I'm talking about. Like, the more we get Emu, I want all these glimpses, these flashbacks. And that is a trope that happens a lot of the times is, the main villain, and there's they were actually best friends, that sort of trope, or at least friends. And I actually really like that trope a lot, and especially if it's done right, it just builds this over hundreds of years, which is awesome. But we see the Conqueror's hockey flowing out from Emu, and it's going all the way to the Walrus School where Luffy is just chomping on his food, trying to get his stamina back. Huff, huff, more. Gotta eat more. Never felt this before. Damn, it's so heavy and harsh. What's with that guy's hockey? Can't win without a full stomach. More, more. Yeah, okay, so he's just going in, but yes, okay. This is so like Emu's hockey. We had Scopper talk about it last chapter on how the fact he's never felt like hockey like this ever before. So that could be in relation to one, the power, like the amount of hockey and how strong it is. But then it also, like Luffy says here, it's so heavy and harsh. Like, so specifically, this might tie into the devil power, or it ties into Omen, which he says is a power that lurks within all things. So this might be a way to elevate your hockey even further. Oh, and Loki, we're cutting back to them and he says, "What's wrong?" Got distracted. So Emu had like a flashback of Joy Boy and even Loki didn't miss that opportunity where Emu was like out of it. He was enraged and he says, "Then you don't respect me enough." And crushes Emu all the way back to the Atom Tree, and he's like inside of the tree, like got pinned inside of it. Similar, not as to high of a degree, but when Luffy hit Doflamingo into the rock on Dressrosa, that's what this reminds me of. But Emu actually seems to have taken some damage from that attack. We can see we can see some blood coming down his face. Okay, so he was injured. Like Loki is a beast, and then we see the giant Nidhogg form over top of the flames. In Emu's like Nidhogg, and Loki's charging up a Thorheim. But then we see Emu doing like the double sixes, and we see the Thorheim blast go off, blowing up. Conqueror's hockey flying everywhere, lightning. And then we see interesting. Okay, so thou art back. And he's smiling. Oh no, Emu's got that dog in him. No, no, that's sick. Okay, so first of all, he seemed to have created like a little bubble shield of the Omen flames. So that actually seems to have completely blocked a Thorheim, which is crazy. And he's smiling. He's smiling. That is amazing. He's got that dog in him, man. He wants the smoke. And I'm so here for it. Emu, wow, what a chapter. We stuck with this fight the entire chapter. We had like almost no cutaways. The only cutaway being to like a little flashback with Harold stuff, and then a cutaway towards Luffy eating a bunch of food in the Walrus School. Other than that, it was straight fight between these two and dialogue. This was a great chapter. Wow. Okay, One Piece chapter 1181. That is the exploration done. Just a few post chapter thoughts here. Loved it. I loved it. Getting, like I said, Emu talking more, talking about what seems to be his move set of corruption, covenants, and the power of Omen. And Omen is what he specifically stated is his military might. He says it's my military might. So it seems like the corruption is the Domi Reversi, the covenants we know is the shallows, the depths, and the abyss covenants. And then the Omen is his military might. It seems to be the Black Flames mixed with Conqueror's hockey somehow. Wow, what a chapter. Emu is a beast. Loki took some big hits and he kept it pushing. So Loki is a monster, but Emu was moving nasty. The only reason he even took damage is because he was caught lacking. You know, he got caught up thinking about Joy Boy getting pissed off, and then Loki did not miss that opportunity to hit him. Oh wow. And he's just hyped. But we know, my assumption is for next chapter that he's smiling right here. He's loving it. So thou art back. And he's referring to the Nidhogg. So I mean, this like stretches back to, all the way back to the Void Century. Maybe he knew the previous user of the Nidhogg or the War God, whatever he was. But my assumption is for next chapter, we're gonna get some more fighting between Loki and Emu. But I think Emu is about to go on the offensive again. Probably start giving it to Loki here, putting the hurt on him. And then I think that is when Luffy will probably, if I had to like try to observation hockey, like future sight,
my assumption is Luffy is going to show up near the end of next chapter when it's not looking so good for Loki. And we will finally have the face to face confrontation of the sun god Nika, the warrior of liberation, and Emu, the devil, the king of the world. And I could not be any more excited. Such a great time to be a One Piece fan. Thank you if you've, made it through this entire video. I greatly appreciate you. And, if you love One Piece, this is hopefully a great place for you to be. And like I said, I just appreciate you guys. So hope you have a great day or night wherever you are at, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.